Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Equine Episode Examination, where today we will be talking about this past weekend's new MLP episode, Parental Glideance. So if this is your first time joining us, or first off, if you're watching this in a recording, we record these shows live at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here on CinemaQuestria.com. So if you ever want to come and join the chat, or if you're not watching it on the site and want to join in the discussion, head over to CinemaQuestria.com on the stream page, and you can join in the chat and chat along, and we'd love to know what you thought about the episode. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. I'll be starting off kind of more general overall thoughts about the episode, and then diving into more specific things, more specific points of discussion about parental guidance as we go on. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to participate in the discussion in the chat, and we got a few people here in the call. I'm Rain Shadow, if everyone else wants to quickly introduce themselves.
I'm the balding fat man, Mr. Ben.
I'm Jay Smith.
I'm more excited than a squealing fango. It's Matt the Shadow Man.
I can't get quite as high as Madeline Peters can.
You mean you can't sound like a dog whistle?
or is it a chicken whistle?
Oh God!
Good
Your everlasting joy
Good
has been
Scootaloo. We can make all the chicken jokes we want today.
But isn't she getting confused? Like she thinks she's a dog this season.
It's just a really well-behaved, well-trained chicken.
It's the sequel to Cat Dog. It's Chicken Dog.
God. Except just with one head.
It is.
So anyway, yeah. This episode is more than about Scootaloo. It's parental guidance. So what is everyone what everyone's initial thoughts on the episode?
I will have to say, I was just really kind of chomping at the bit to, tell people about the episode a little bit when I first saw this, because I saw the Canadian episode of this before the U.S. release. And,
Boo!
well, see, the thing is that it wasn't so much that I was planning to spoil the episode, but the thing is that with our site's spoiler thing here, I really wanted to say, hey, guys, when you watch the episode, just, Scootaloo's going to scream like a banshee here, and it's going to be ear-ringing, and you're probably going to want to not wear headphones for this. So I kind of had to word my way just to let people know, hey, just, word of warning, be liberal with the mute button. So.
Is it bad that I found it slightly less ear rapey than Pinkie Pie's squealing in Rock Solid Friendship?
No, to each their own.
Maybe it's because I was expecting something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I this episode has grown on me. When I first saw it live, because I watched
like a Fluttershy growing in the woods. Do continue.
Anyway, yeah, yes. So you can make more Fluttershy puns. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, this. I'm gonna be honest. When I first watched the episode, don't get me wrong, it's a good episode. When I first sort of watched it, but it's the sort of the second and third time I've watched it, I think it's a really great episode. And honestly, I think most of that is almost on Scootaloo. Rainbow Dash. I actually don't have too many. I've heard a few people, not too many, say that Rainbow Dash was over the top when the way she reacted to her parents, and yeah, to a degree she is. But then again, her parents are the kind of ponies like her that do seem to do everything up to 11. So
Great.
I blame the upbringing.
Great job, Matt. That was a great analysis, Matt. Great job. Awesome, Matt. Good job. Awesome. Best analysis. 10 out of 10, Matt.
I'm sorry, but as a British person, where we're very what's the word? We're not quite I'm trying to think of the word. We're not
excited.
We're quite drawn in. We don't. I don't know. Brits can get excited. We're not we're not showy. We're not.
Not chipper.
We don't. Wait, let me say this. If we were like in sports, we wouldn't like massively boast that we win something. Except if it's the Football World Cup, we seem to always keep reminding people that we won that in 1966. Yes, we won that in 1996.
Good job.
1966. Do you remember that?
Totally
Even
not.
though I was born.
Yeah, totally still relevant.
But yeah, it's funny. I think it's a slight cultural thing, but yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are still definitely parents that are like that, especially if you're in like a sports type background, and I'm not just talking about the Americanized soccer moms. Or, yeah, is it moms? That's right, because it has an O, doesn't it? So it must be moms. Yeah, soccer moms. Phenomenon. I mean, that's definitely a factor here, but I think any child that's like really good at something, whether it's sports or education or something like that, you're gonna boast. It's your kid. You know, I mean, I've not got children, but you can. I mean, I know if I had a child and he or she was extremely capable at something, I know I'd probably bang on about it. So.
I think overall I really enjoyed this episode, and I did watch this episode early, I will admit, simply because I knew I was going to be working during the episode this week. I know I hated it. I don't want to watch any of the episodes early because I don't want the season to end early for me, but I just did just because I knew I didn't know if I was gonna actually be able to be in chat anyway, and even if I was, it was going to kind of be like, I don't want to be that my first viewing trying to get my phone to work. And plus, I had to get the BGM rip stuff done early just because. So I did watch it early, but I have to admit, the first time I did watch the episode, I felt similar to Matt, and we'll get more into this probably when we get into the character discussion, in terms of what he didn't like particularly after first watching the episode. But I after thinking more on it throughout the week and watching it a few more times, it improved. It made more sense upon it. But I think overall, even with that, regardless of that,
let me say this as a comparison. The more I watch Rainbow Falls, the less I like that episode. The more I watch Parental Glideance, the more I like it. So, let me put it like that.
But yeah, I think even with that initial gripe I had, which I don't have anymore, I still think it was a really strong episode, and I really liked it. It had a really, really emotional kind of strong ending as well, and I really liked how they weaved a bunch of different things together in it. So, just overall, just a great episode. They explained a lot of stuff. They made it work and make sense. Yeah, really good. So, getting out of our initial thoughts here, we'll get and just go right into the story and the writing. So this episode was written by a new writer for the series, Joshua Hamilton. Joshua Hamilton, actually, I recognized the name right away because he was actually one of the staff writers, main writers in Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, and the new Voltron series on Netflix. Obviously, all those three shows have very similar, very much the same production team in them.
So totally didn't squeeze to me when you found that out.
Yep. So I'm like, oh my god, I recognize that name. Is it the same guy? Oh my god, it is the same guy. So I guess Avatar: The Last Airbender, you have a lot of writing crossovers in different shows, but shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Korra, stuff like that, and a lot of like the superhero shows don't have usually a lot of crossover with shows like Pony or The Loud House or shows more on the comedic side versus those shows. So I was never really expecting to see a writer maybe that had worked on Avatar or Korra and Pony, not because Pony sucks or anything like that, just because usually you do have some you usually see some separation in writing when you kind of go back and actually look at the writers of these shows, and I have spent a lot of time looking back at writers and other staff between shows to kind of see where they came from and where they've gone. So it was really exciting to see him on here and kind of see what he was going to bring to this series in it, and I think he did it really well. He fit into the show's style really well. Obviously, did a lot of great things in terms of continuity and getting the characters right. So I think again another first time writer for the show that really kind of got it right off the bat, I think.
I still like the idea that Rainbow was basically ended up being friends with Fluttershy, just basically to get away from her parents and to have the calm of Fluttershy's family, which would have been a lot calmer and quieter.
Except when they keep cheering her on to like date her brother.
No, that's the only reason. No. She would stay over when he was out doing
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And as soon as he came in, she'd leave to go back home before he started hitting on her.
So we can kind of see why Rainbow Dash sort of left home pretty early there to move to Ponyville, away from Cloudsdale. I have to say Joanne and Christine have really, I think, been continuing, and I have a feeling we'll be saying this more as the season goes on, but I think they've really been, as story editors, really been continuing to deliver sort of on a lot of things that have been asked for in terms of episodes and events and characters for many seasons.
I think M.A. Larson's cloned himself and put on wigs.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, so far, I mean, we've got a lot of things in between. Celeste's involvement in the first episode, more Starlight Glimmer. We got introduced to Rainbow Dash's parents in this episode. So all these things that have really been a long time coming in the series, they've really kind of just gone in and tackled head on in terms of deciding kind of what stories this season is going to cover, which I think is pretty cool. And I think, as writers who haven't been on the series, have only been on the series since season 5 themselves, and all the other writers so far this season are either brand new or have been, from season 5 onward as well. They've done a really good job of so far bringing on these new writers, again, like we've had in past seasons, and making sure they're up to date, making sure that, it doesn't seem like they're necessarily a brand new writer and dropping the ball on characters or anything. I think the transition has continued to be, transition for new writers has continued to be really well done with them at the helm of the show. Yeah, they seem to be really good at bringing in new writers and finding really good writers, even if there's a lot of writers that have come from shows that don't have the best reputation and got trashed before they even started writing for the show because of past shows they've worked on. Like Nick Conflin, for example, had written on some shows that aren't very well critiqued by a lot of people. And he was very much panned before he came on the show, and I think he's one of my favorite writers on the show now, even with that. And so they've gone not only in terms of going out and finding the best writers, but even finding really good writers who might have written for not so good shows before, and sort of giving them a chance to really shine in this show. And they've been really good, and really whoever is scouts these writers and or gets the scripts or asks for synopsises or drafts or whatever from writers has been doing a really good job at finding them and bringing them onto the show very seamlessly. Yeah, I mean, and there's some new writers that have dropped into it a lot easier than others, but I don't think there's any new writer from the past couple seasons that I can remember that really dropped the ball in any major way. There's been some things that we've pointed out, I think, on past Triple E's with new writers that we said, well, yeah, maybe this is kind of an effect of them being new, maybe this is an effect, but it's nothing. I don't think there's really been anything major or glaring that have had issues with, which is pretty great for a show that's 7 seasons in, bringing on new writers.
I mean, what's surprising is that I think this season in particular, there's been a lot of writers that have worked on things that are a lot more better received. I mean, obviously we've had two writers. We've had this writer that's from Avatar. Spoilers in the future. There's another writer that was previously on Avatar that's going to be writing for the show as well. It's interesting to note that there does seem to be a slight bump in the number of people that have worked on higher regarded shows, I would say, not necessarily higher quality. But it's ultimately it doesn't really matter where the rights come from as long as they do a good job. I mean, to be fair, M.A. Larson before Frenchman Magic,
the best show.
He was pretty much a sort of an unknown. Yeah, he wrote for
Amazing Orange.
Yes.
Yes, it's the best
Well,
show.
that
That's the show he's most proud of working on. He said multiple times that he hopes he's waiting for people to
He
come
only
with
did one
amazing.
episode of that.
He's
He
waiting
only
for
did
people
one
to
episode
come
of that
find
show.
him with amazing orange fan art and have him sign it.
But no, seriously, he worked on Symbionic Titan, and other than that, he sort of had done like odd episodes of shows like The Amazing Orange. But yeah, this is the thing. So a lot of these writers are pretty much, the thing is with season 1 and 2, it was a very nice balance of very experienced writers like Amy Keaton Rogers and Cindy Morrow and sort of ones like that, and then you had people like Dave Polsky, who only really had it sort of writing credits for Scary Movie 2, although essentially he did work on Scary Movie 1. I got that from the horse's mouth. But the thing is with writing for those movies is that he probably only wrote like a number of skits or parts of skits, so it's not exactly a huge amount of
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a whole movie he worked on. He only worked on like a small part of it, and he did a couple of episodes of South Park, and that was it. I mean, he had no real other major credits to his name. So, it's nice to see a show that's not necessarily relying on just like a small pool of like very experienced writers. They are branching the net out.
And yeah, there's been a good amount of writers where in past seasons too, where they've written before, but maybe just for one show or a couple shows. And
Fish hooks.
I'm telling you right now, Fish Hooks. I've never actually seen it. I've heard it's a terrible show, but go look at IMDb and look at the writing staff for that show, and you will see like 10 different people from really good shows that worked on that show before, including like at least like 3 or 4 people from MLP, including Megan McCarthy.
And the guy that
and Nick
created Gravity
Confalone,
Falls.
and Alex Hirsch, and a bunch of other people. So I don't know what's up with that show. It was like some weird incubator for great writers and show creators going forward. It's weird.
Hey, gotta start somewhere.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's the thing. And that's why it's not fair to really judge writers necessarily based on their past. I'm not saying don't judge them based on their works. That's stupid. But I mean, like, you can't really judge them based on the show they were on necessarily, because a lot of shows, for some shows, there's really only so much you can do as a writer to improve it. I mean, you got to work with what you're handed with in terms of what the characters are, what the show's topic and story are. And I think that's one of the great things about MLP, and why a lot of writers are able to come onto it and do so well on it, is because they have such a good setup in terms of what the show was initially developed as by Lauren Faust and their creative team, and then what the creative team has done since then as well in terms of building the show and building the characters. They have an amazing set of well written, well developed characters and locations and stories and mythos to work with going in. So it isn't just like you have freaking breadwinners or something going in that you're kind of stuck with it. They're coming into a really well developed show, I think, which definitely helps. Oh yeah, but yeah, like Matt said, you can still drop the ball, and you can still somehow make an okay episode out of a bad show as well. But I think a lot of it is just you got to work with what you got. It's still pretty bad though, Matt.
Seriously, I think M.A. Larson's Amazing Orange episode of Amazing Orange was actually quite bad, even by the show's standards, which kind of says a lot.
He probably just didn't give 2 craps.
Well,
I think. Well, that's another thing. Is I think a lot of the writers on this show are interested in writing for the show and really care about it. Either are fans themselves or really know about the show and want to write for it and want to write for the good characters. Where there's a lot of shows that writers are writing to it because it's it's a paycheck. It's their job, so that's what they're going to do, and maybe not. Maybe they're not going to give their all into it just because of that. But I think a lot of the writers of the show have really shown interest, especially if you follow any of them on Twitter when they're new, and same with voice actors that take a part in the show. They're really into it and really involved in the show and like the show itself as well. Yeah, and Nick, that Johnny Test was one of the shows that Nick had worked on, as well as Fishhooks. Like I said, he also worked on Fishhooks for that. And
we're gonna have to show some episodes of that here at CQ. We have to do that sometime.
See, I don't know if it's bad enough to riff, and I don't think it's good enough to watch. It's in that weird middle ground. Well, just back on the topic of this episode, I was really happy that the episode, being that the whole plot of the episode is based around Rainbow Dash's parents and who they are and why, and Rainbow's relationship with them. But I really liked how the story was written around Scootaloo as well. I just think that was a really good choice for a lot of reasons, and it was great seeing another episode focused on both her and Rainbow as well. Because I think that's I'm always up for seeing more episodes that are focusing on them. And I think Josh Hamilton does a really great job of subtly explaining sort of why we've never seen of or heard about Rainbow's parents until now, because this is one of those things where, it isn't like Shining Armor in Season 2, where even that was kind of out of left field, but it's only Season 2, at the end of Season 2, so maybe Twilight just never got around to mentioning him. But now we're kind of 7 seasons in, and to have an episode suddenly about Rainbow's parents and come in and, okay, well, they exist now, we know that. Why have we never heard of them until now? Why has Rainbow never talked about? Why have we never seen them for 7 seasons with all the stuff that's going on in Rainbow Dash's life? And they do a really great job of not only telling us that, but making the whole episode pretty much be about why we haven't seen them and why Rainbow has never mentioned them and why and why they don't know that she's a Wonderbolt, being that she's too embarrassed by them, and with her moving up the ranks in their Wonderbolts throughout the series, she just really never wanted them to find out because of that. And they even pretty much go directly and have the parents directly say why they never didn't know about Rainbow being a Wonderbolt and why they never went to go see a Wonderbolt show and find out themselves. They directly kind of explained that in the episode. So I really liked sort of like how they worked all of that in and made it seem natural and just didn't make it seem jarring why suddenly these parents exist.
I mean, yeah, the sort of the flip side of that is that we didn't see Fluttershy's parents, but then again, you think to yourself, well, if they're like Fluttershy from Season 1, do they even step outside the house?
Yeah.
Well, they had to have stepped outside the house. Rainbow Dad was apparently mowing his cloud lawn.
No, he was talking about Fluttershy's parents.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm only kind of half listening. I apologize.
But yeah, I mean, it. You know what's going to possibly happen in the future now. Suddenly, siblings for Rainbow Dash.
Oh, I'm way too tired. For some reason my brain construed siblings as children, and I'm just like, okay, that's quite the jump. Oh, I didn't realize that that Rainbow was getting together with Fluttershy's brother that quickly.
I didn't realize that trees could procreate like that. So when Fluttershy is going to start, now she's getting more confident, when she turns to someone that she loves or to a tree that she loves, is she going to go to them and say, I want to spread my seeds with you?
Oh my god.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh. Insert joke about getting wood here.
Hey, it would be a very sappy love story.
Oh, God.
I'll see myself out.
I think one of the things I really liked in terms of the writing is the kind of multiple lessons this episode worked in the end. A lot of episodes will have a lesson that's, can kind of go to everyone, and everyone can really relate to this lesson. Some lessons are more geared towards younger viewers. Some lessons, like we've had in the past few episodes here in the show, might be a little bit more towards older viewers and parents rather than kids, like last week's episode, Forever Philly. I think this one actually kind of had like two separate lessons, both for kids and parents. I think both kids and parents can take away something important and something different from this. For kids, obviously, it's like parents are embarrassing, but they love you and want you to succeed and feel good about yourself. But speaking with them about issues you might have is a lot better than kind of bottling all of that up and letting all of that annoyance out at once in a big emotional outburst as well. And then for parents, go ahead.
I was about to say, yeah, this actually has a very similar message to All Bottled Up from earlier in the season where, like you said, if someone's behavior is bothering you and you don't want to hurt them, then don't wait until they push you too far and then just let it all explode. Find a civil, productive way to let them know so that nobody's feelings get hurt.
Yeah, and then for parents, it has a slightly different lesson, moral for the episode. And this one's kind of a little bit more. It's not really explicitly stated, like in terms of Dear Princess Celeste kind of thing, but it's very obvious in terms of, and the episode makes it pretty clear to the viewer, and that is it's possible to go overboard with congratulating or encouraging your kids, and the episode I think makes that pretty clear to the viewer that what they're doing is very much over the top, and they need to kind of dial it back, especially when they start shooting off fireworks. So even though it's not really explicitly stated in the episode, I think it's definitely something that can be taken away from it, especially at the end when Wendy and Bo kind of get embarrassed by Rainbow's performance and that she puts on for them in the end as well.
I could also go on and go further and also mention never take your parents for granted because they always want the best for you and who you are because of their support and love. They may not show it in the best ways, but there's no reason to reject their attempt either.
Yeah.
Also, don't get angry in front of your parents, in front of your biggest fan. That's not a good look.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things too, where, and I can speak from experience both personally and seeing other people, where your parents might be embarrassing you in public, but you reacting to them embarrassing you winds up being even more embarrassing, especially if you kind of freak out like that. So you kind of just make it worse.
I'm not going to say that parents are completely blameless though, and I can actually understand Rainbow Dash being upset. Did she blow up too much? Yeah, but then again, this is the filly that was basically told to be basically 11 out of 10 all the time. So the fact that she blew up like she did and then she got congratulated by her parents after that, I mean, it's the way she was raised as much as anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what she did was completely wrong, but then again, when you know not much else, it's not a surprise. Yeah. I would say.
And that's something, and that's the thing about the episode that I know it kind of maybe hit me the wrong way when I first watched it, and I know it hit you the wrong way, Matt, when you first watched it, in terms of the episode sort of made it very, very explicitly at that part where Rainbow has the outburst, explicitly shifted the blame directly onto Rainbow for that scene, both in terms of how the parents react and how Scootley reacts, and then how Rainbow reacts to them reacting. Making her kind of take the blame for everything that happened, even though obviously, as Matt said, the parents do have a lot of blame. There's nothing wrong with congratulating your kids, but they were definitely taking it way too far and have been for a while. But
I can imagine them going behind her after he's had his shit and going, "That's a great shit, Rainbow Dash."
I can see that happen. I can see that happening. That's the moment Rainbow left home. But then when you think about it a little bit more, it wasn't really the episode. The episode wasn't really shifting that blame onto Rainbow for anything other than Rainbow's outburst. It wasn't just Rainbow not liking that was wrong. It wasn't, the parents are wrong. There's nothing wrong with Rainbow being annoyed with that or angry with that. But it's how she chose to express that frustration and anger that the episode kind of shines the negative, is shining the negative light on there. In terms of is no matter what the situation was, the way Rainbow reacted to it there and built it all up and didn't have that communication line with her parents saying, hey, you're kind of, so you might be taking it a little too far here, and it's she bottled that all up until she just had this big outburst in front of them, and pretty much, even though it's kind of in the Wonderbolt's locker room, pretty much in public, against them, and that's kind of what the episode is focusing on there.
Something else that strikes me with this episode, and obviously with Sweetie Belle's episode in oh god, I'm not very good with titles. Forever Philly. It's interesting to note that if this is going to be a theme of this season or not, I don't know, but it seems to me that the CMC do seem to be a hell of a lot more grown up now. I mean, obviously now that they've got their cutie marks, that's kind of not a surprise, and obviously the fact that the VAs themselves, I mean, they are actually now 18. It's kind of scary to think that when they started, they were basically kids. It's kind of terrifying to think that, really, that they are now essentially young adults themselves. So it makes perfect sense for the characters in the show to be doing almost exactly the same thing, and in a way I think that's kind of made them even more endearing as time has gone on. And I think especially since like season 4, and especially since obviously Crusaders of the Lost Mark, I think that they've really come into their own, and I hope that they continue pushing that forward. And I think that it's interesting to note that this season we've been seeing the CMC teaching a member of the main 6 a lesson as much as themselves learning things as well.
We kind of get that as a group with them last season as well, and the karting episode.
Yeah, but I think this is a lot more personal, maybe, or it's definitely not just them as a group. It's them as individual characters, as well as I think the messages are especially a lot more mature, I think would be the word to say. Not to say that the one with the karting wasn't mature itself, but I think it was more a case of 3 members of the main 6 acting like acting a bit like fillies, rather than necessarily the fillies acting more grown up.
We definitely have a lot of continuity, both story and visual continuity, that I'll get to when we get to the animation section as well in this episode. And it's like that this season has been really strong with, and the writers and Joe and Christine have been really good at putting into. I really like the recap that they put in. I guess if you missed a lot of Rainbow Dash's episodes, 7 seasons, here you go. With Scootaloo sort of bringing her parents up to date with the recap of everything that Rainbow has kind of gone through. Even though I already know it was kind of cool to see, just because it's kind of really, you could look back and you realize just how much Rainbow has gone through over the course of the past 7 seasons, and how much she's grown, and you can really see it happen, really quickly there in the flashback, and really get to see how far she has come. I really think that she's probably had the most development and most kind of definite character arc out of any of the main 6, maybe even more than Twilight as well. Just with how far she's come, both in terms of her character, but also in terms of her goals in the series.
I would say that a lot of that. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's interesting to note that I think it depends where because some of the ponies basically have very different starting points. I mean, Fluttershy basically had was miles sort of behind the rest in terms of having a goal. I mean, we didn't even really know what her goal was until this season.
Yeah,
I mean,
she had something,
crazy.
and she had something different because she didn't really have a set goal, but she had something she was still trying to overcome in terms of her shyness. So maybe, well, it's not like a goal like joining the Wonder Bowl. It's in a lot of ways it's kind of a similar thing in terms of something that she's been working to improve upon and overcome over the series.
And to be fair, the goal in season 7 was like it came to as a surprise to absolutely nobody.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, I really liked the conclusion of the episode. This episode had a really nice emotional core to it to kind of balance out all the wacky parental antics that happened throughout a lot of the episode. And when we get to the end, and we, after Scootaloo kind of says all the stuff that she said, and we get to the very end of the episode, and we get Scootaloo finishing her presentation, and then having Rainbow and her parents cheering Scootaloo on, their like parents and sister there, with that really happy face, that happy kind of crying face that Scootaloo has at the end there. It was probably one of the most like touching ends to an episode that I've seen in this series so far.
I'll tell you what, I will blub like a fucking I will blub so fucking much if they make an episode where Rainbow basically tries to help Scootaloo actually fly. I mean, that would be, that would be something, and and achieves it, but through a lot of struggle. That would, I would both be happy if they made it, but also pissed off because I just know I'm gonna be crying like a fucking little kid, and we're like, I'm watching a show that's meant for little girls and I'm crying. Mind you, I did that with Crusaders of the Lost Mark, so but it's, I traded in that card some time ago. It joins a very short list of cartoons on television that actually made me cry.
Anything else for the story and the writing before we move on to the character discussion?
I hope Josh Hamilton writes more episodes for the show.
I do too. Okay, so we'll move on to the character and the character discussion, and I think that Josh did just a really great job with the characters here, and writing for shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra, which have very very much, they're action shows, but do have a very strong character focus, especially in Avatar: The Last Airbender, in terms of character and character development and building over the course of seasons. I guess it really shouldn't surprise me that this episode was written really well in terms of its characters, but I really, really thought it was.
I wonder if it was him that wrote in the script. And Scootaloo is going to squeal like a fucking banshee in this scene. Make sure to have plenty of mints on hand for Mandy Peters.
And of course, this is another episode where it's like, here we got a brand new writer to the series. Let's have him introduce Rainbow Dash's parents. Let's, that thing that people have been asking about for like season 1. Yeah. I really liked how, in terms of character, this episode does provide us with a lot of context into Rainbow's personality, and you can kind of see why she's potentially so cocky right now in terms of her personality. with growing up like that, with parents like that, it seems obvious that she would probably have a little bit of a superiority complex.
She's awesome. That's what you need to know. She's
And
awesome.
also awesome. Can't forget about that.
Did you know that Rainbow Dash is awesome?
I think I heard a rumor about that. I'm not sure if it's confirmed.
Yeah, not really.
I heard some whispers.
I did like I liked all the small teasing that the Wonderbolts kind of did with Rainbow when they were realizing how embarrassed she was about it. There's one point where Spitfire says, "All right, Wonderbolts, let's hit the showers and give Rainbow Dash some alone time to spend with her family." She has this like little smirk on her.
Yeah, can I? That's something. I know we've already passed talking about writing, but yeah, can I just say how brilliantly Josh Hamilton wrote the Wonderbolts? It's just really they were really excellent in this episode, and you know, more of this to basically plaster over the cracks that I had from previous episodes that they've appeared in. It's certainly helping.
I think one of my favorite parts was Fleetfoot going up to as Rainbow Dash's dad is crying and like holding her, going up to him. Fleetfoot's just like, "Sir, you raised a really great flyer," like just knowing that's going to cause him to go completely mental about it.
Was it Fleetfoot that had the Rainbow Dash style smirk in the episode as
Yes, the dash face.
well? Yes. It's contagious.
Yes.
Soon all of Cloudsdale will have the dash face.
Yeah, but it was nice seeing some development from them as well, and seeing them kind of a little bit more cohesive as a team, and being, you know, more positive as, you know, as a team as well, which I think Rainbow has definitely had an effect on them over the course of the series, as we've seen through multiple episodes. So having her actually on the team, you know, with you know the biggest Wonderbolts, I think is really good for their organization. And it was just great. I think it was just great seeing Rainbow kind of as a Wonderbolt now, as you know, a very big Wonderbolt doing Wonderbolt things. So like when we get to the sort of the montage, in the second half of the episode there, you know, when she's signing books and taking pictures with fillies and stuff, and looking really kind of excited and happy to be doing it, like she's not cocky or anything about herself, but actually is legitimately kind of excited to be kind of making some of these kids' days and stuff like that, and having these other colts and fillies looking up to her.
Would you almost say that she was awesome doing it?
I think others might say that.
I know her parents would.
I don't think there's a word that describes how her parents feel about her. It's more than awesome.
Super duper triple awesome.
And of course, we also get a little, in terms of Rainbow and her character arc, we also get to see sort of more of her past, of her as a filly and with her parents, and kind of seeing where she came from and how that shaped her. I think it was definitely interesting to see that Rainbow really wasn't always the best at something. Yeah, she was the youngest flyer in the senior competition or whatever, but still seeing that, you know, she wasn't the best, and with her parents' encouragement through it, she worked really hard to improve, even if that was just to make her parents stop embarrassing her for getting participation awards. Still, that encouragement helped her to go from those participation awards all the way up to first place over the course of those competitions. And it was a nice thing to see in terms of her actually becoming sort of what she is now, and how awesome she is now at flying and stuff like that.
And also awesome. And Knuckles. It will be interesting. I think the thing that basically everyone's going to be chomping at the bit now is to see Scootaloo's family, if she indeed has some.
Yeah, the episode really kind of, at the end there, really hit us with a sudden, unexpected sort of emotional bomb with Scootaloo there. When she admits that she would have loved to have parents that would support her like rainbows do. And that's pretty much either confirms that her parents aren't around, like she's an orphan or something like that, or she has very inattentive or busy parents, which is also why we never see them in the series. So it kind of both explains why we've never seen them and confirms sort of something that a lot of people expected, that her parents in one way or another aren't involved in her life. And it was really cool and sad to see that take a big part of the episode there. And
in before Scootaloo's parents are the chicken king and queen, she's actually a princess.
But I loved how they kind of juxtaposed that with the rainbow in here and again, that makes me really happy to, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of Scootaloo's involvement in this episode with Rainbow, how using Scootaloo to juxtapose Rainbow and how their growing up was different. And it's not something we would have known before this episode, since we didn't know about Rainbow's parents, but making her parents very overenthusiastic and, way too involved in everything she does, both explains Rainbow's personality, but then also is able to juxtapose that with Scootaloo and how she isn't a great flyer, and she admits that she never got that kind of support or encouragement when she was growing up to do better. Now, which I just loved, and I loved that they made that a big part of the episode and a big part of the turning point in terms of Rainbow Dash in the episode as well. And I'd love to see more Rainbow Dash, like Matt said, working with Scootaloo in one way or another to help her gain that confidence and improve. And I think the very ending of the episode, like I mentioned, was a big part of that, in terms of having Rainbow Dash and her parents there to cheer Scootaloo on for her presentation. Yeah, it was one of those things where they didn't explicitly say, what the deal is with her parents. But no matter what the deal is, the emotional impact here is the same, in that Scootaloo, one way or another, doesn't have her parents' involvement in her life, which I think is the important part of that. The important part of Scootaloo's backstory isn't if her parents are dead or whatever. The important part is they're not involved, and that has had a very negative effect on her growing up, and her self-confidence. And I really loved seeing that. I loved that whole dialogue exchange there with Rainbow Dash saying, saying what she said, and then Scootaloo immediately backfiring that, with saying, me, my parents were never involved, and seeing how that just kind of hit Rainbow Dash there as well.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that particular line, because it kind of gives a bit of a opening into Scootaloo's life, and we don't really know a lot of things about her home life. I mean, fandom's always been full of theories about her family life, and this is pretty much the closest the show has ever come to actually referencing any family that she has. And her words can be taken in two main ways. Either she has no parents at all, meaning that she was orphaned or given up and never adopted, which is already a popular theory already, or her parents are so uninvolved in her life that she may as well not have them. for her to claim that she has no one to encourage or support her goes beyond the fact that her parents are simply busy, which is especially considering the implied disability that she has to deal with her being unable to fly. So there is also that theory that her parents could be overly abusive or overtly abusive, but I don't really kind of get that feeling, because if they were overtly abusive, then she would be far worse off than she already is.
I think, and I think it's just in one way or another they're inattentive. Whether that means they're dead, they're somewhere else, or maybe like work or their jobs keep them away from home a lot.
I say, I kind of get the feeling that, like I said, they're more uninvolved and neglectful than anything else.
Yeah. And not and maybe not like maliciously neglectful, but maybe it's neglectful because they're so busy. Yeah.
Yeah. Not like it's not a malicious thing.
Yeah,
it's just that you mentioned. Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because we did see back in Flight to the Finish, one of the previous big Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash episodes, we did see where she lived, and that episode was also very ambiguous as to what it was. So we know that she's not living in a cardboard box somewhere, which was a popular theory back before that episode. She actually did have a house somewhere, but of course the episode is very not specific as to where she actually was. It was in a building. She had her own room, but was that her parents' house or an orphanage? It did.
I have a theory as to why they're so inattentive to Scootaloo. They wanted a baby pony, not a baby chicken.
Scootaloo's been on the run for all these years because they've been trying to deep fry her.
Chicken Run 2, Scootaloo Boogaloo.
Electric
God. Electric Scootaloo. Yes.
I prefer Scootaloo Boogaloo because it rhymes.
Oh.
Electric Scootaloo Boogaloo. There
Yes.
you go.
There you go.
And on the topic of Scootaloo not having those attentive parents, it played directly into sort of the episode and its plot and sort of the disagreement, I guess, not really the best word, between Rainbow and Scootaloo there, where Scootaloo just doesn't really understand what Rainbow is going through here either. Where, through the entire episode, to us, I think to most of us viewers, we can see through the eyes of viewers here that Rainbow's parents are going way too far in terms of encouraging her. But to Scootaloo, she's never had that any kind of encouragement at all in her life, really. So she sees that, and she's obviously really into it and really excited, and really, she just doesn't understand why Rainbow Dash is so against having this sort of support, and why she didn't tell her parents how well she's doing so they can congratulate her. And of course, that all builds up to that moment and moment between Rainbow and Scootaloo at the end there, where she admits that she never got that kind of support in her life. So, obviously we've talked a lot about how over-encouraging they are, but what did everyone think about Rainbow's parents themselves, Bo Hop Hoof and Windy Whistles?
Well, we know exactly where Rainbow Dash gets her cute little faces from.
Yeah, I love the combination between them, her dad's rainbow hair, and then her mom had the same eyes and eye color as her as well.
To say,
and that same kind of excitement.
I found Windy Whistles pretty damn cute looking, actually. Well, she's looking good. She's also looking good for someone that's supposed to be Rainbow's mom's age.
Well, there was for many scenes where she had lines under her eyes,
True.
which
But I
was
still
a
think
good touch
Rainbow's mum's
to
got it
make her
going
look
on.
that.
That's all I'm going to say about that. Could you imagine the CMC singing that song?
That's wrong. That's wrong on many levels.
That's so terrible. Just mute me now before I do any more damage.
But yeah, I really like them. I like their personalities, and yeah, they were over the top, but parents love, a lot of parents really are into their kids and seeing them succeed. And I just really like their enthusiasm. I mean, especially like with Windy Whistles, she has a lot of the similar enthusiasm that Rainbow has with a lot of things, and you can see a lot of those similarities in her personality. Yep, and as far as we know, she's an only child. I mean, it didn't say it explicitly, but it would be weird if she had a brother or sister.
It makes perfect sense for them to be so
Yes.
incredibly supportive.
About their only child. Yeah, I would hate to be Rainbow Dash's brother or sister if she had one, because she must be getting zero attention. The big twist is Scootaloo is actually Rainbow's sister. Dun dun dun.
That would make me actually hate the parents. To be fair, honestly, seriously, that would probably make me not like the parents anywhere near as much, though, if they did do that.
Oh, of course, yeah, because obviously.
Yeah, I mean, there's no bones about that. Yeah, Rainbow Dash is an only child in it, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It also helps with it also helps with the sort of the slightly sort of difference between Applejack and Rainbow Dash. Applejack is used to being involved in very large family get-togethers and stuff, whereas with Rainbow, I get the
it's
feeling
all about Rainbow.
Yeah, it's all about the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow.
It's the Rainbow Dash show.
Yes.
Like everyone said, it was in season 1. Like it's now the Starlight Glimmer.
That is Rainbow Dash's life. Is the Rainbow Dash show.
I now want to see Starlight Glimmer's parents.
Oh gosh, all the parents, and then they're going to get together for a big family dinner. And if that is true, then the
only problem is that right now they'll have to conduct a séance for Applejack's parents.
Yeah, so because the only parents then we haven't seen in the series so far would be Applejack's, well, and Spike's. I guess.
Well, because they don't. Well, because they're not around, we ain't ever going to see them. So we've seen all the parents. The end.
Zombies.
Didn't we have that with 28 pranks later?
More zombies.
Who do you think you are? Activision?
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing, DM12. It doesn't matter what the episode is. People are going to bitch that their headcanons are destroyed because, it's all about Rainbow Dash. Yeah, it's all about me.
The thing is, though, headcanons are going to slowly get morphed or changed or even totally destroyed as time goes on, because the show's going to delve into issues that the fandom actually has already done so. Does that necessarily make the show wrong for doing so? Well, no, because obviously it must have been something of a high interest for it to have been tackled by the fandom in the first place.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In a fandom,
the show isn't going to show a day of rarity just shopping.
Maybe it will.
That's just not going to happen. Yeah, unless some exciting happens while she is shopping. They're not just going to.
No, it's just going to be 22. It's going to be 22 minutes of rarity shopping and trying on dresses. No.
What do you think this is? G3?
No, that would be Rainbow Dash. She always dresses in style.
Dressing in style.
I was disappointed by no reference to her dressing in style as a kid. I looked on all the walls, all the pictures on her walls, to try and see if there's any references.
And you can imagine the parents were saying, "Oh, you always dress the best, Rainbow Dash. Best dresser.
You always dress in style." Mom, I'm not wearing any clothes right now.
You're still the best dressed.
10 out of 10.
I never wear clothes, Mom.
But yeah, with headcanons are stupid, and if you're gonna get mad about the show going against something you thought that was never explicitly stated in the show, then you need to take a step back and realize you're not the center of the world. Even if your idea was really, really cool. It's
I don't know.
no.
I don't know. According to Rainbow's parents, I think she is literally like the sun, star, moon, even Celestia and Luna basically revolve around.
See, now that they know that Rainbow Dash is a big Wonderbolt, they're gonna trash their commemorative Celestia plates and buy some commemorative Rainbow Dash Wonderbolt plates.
Well, Scoodly did that for them anyway.
She was just helping them out.
She just saved them the job.
Yeah. On an unrelated note, something that was seen is that at the very end you can see a very happy Diamond Tiara clapping for Scootaloo after a presentation. So it's nice seeing that. I really hope we see more, like an episode with Diamond, focusing on Diamond Tiara. We haven't really seen her at all since season 5.
Tiara song, damn it.
Yes, that too.
Chantel Strand singing.
But we haven't really seen her surprise, and that's something that surprised me. Is since season 5 when she was reformed or whatnot, we haven't seen her at all pretty much, and even here it was just very quick shot at the end. So hopefully we'll get more of that. But it was nice seeing her being very supportive of Scootaloo now, instead of just kind of sitting in the classroom looking like she's gonna slap someone.
Everyone was happy for the chicken. Although I do love the little detail of Shirley being extremely harsh on her marking. Yeah, it was good, but you did rely a bit too much on the pictures and that mouldy old sandwich you put in there. I'd have probably marked it harsher for putting a mouldy sandwich in.
I don't know, if I was pretty hungry after a day at teaching, maybe that would have been a godsend.
Not a mouldy sandwich.
It depends on how moldy it is. You can cut the mold off.
She should have just took a picture of the sandwich.
Yeah, that would have made. Yeah, but then there would have been even more too many pictures, so she still probably would have only got a B.
In a sandwich.
We're doing all the memes today.
All the memes. Need more memes.
420 Blazer.
Any other characters or character development, any other points about characters anyone wants to make, or anyone we missed?
I would like to point out Derpy.
Oh, I was just about to bring her up too.
Let's say, I loved how they actually gave a little bit of a point on Derpy, because even though she's initially shown to be like the winner of the races in Rainbow Dash's flashbacks, you can see that over time she lowers in the standing. But what's notable here is that at the very beginning, when she's the winner of the race, her eyes are normal. But every time she's shown at a lower rank, they're slightly more and more crossed until they're that familiar wall-eyed position in the very last scene. So you kind of have to wonder what exactly happened to her to cause her those eyes to mess up.
In a parallel universe, Derpy is actually Rainbow Dash.
Thank you, episode, for providing more fanfic speculation.
But yeah, like Tim said, more than just even Derpy there. It was I actually went, when I was watching this last night, I spent some time and actually went kind of frame by frame, or I guess scene by scene as it fades in between each of those things, and seeing how the stands change. And we in the flashback we see Derpy up top, of course, at the beginning. We actually see lightning dust, surprisingly, coming back a couple times in this episode, both in the recap from Scootaloo and here. Soren, Spitfire, Fleetfoot, Cloud Chaser, Flitter, Thunderlane, as well as the bullies from Cloudsdale there that we've seen in the series before. So I think that was pretty cool seeing them and kind of seeing how them changing. At one point, Lightning Dust, Derpy drops down one level each time. Spitfire gradually rises very slowly up to second place by the end, and then Lightning Dust gets the top spot, but then is hilariously kind of dethroned by Rainbow Dash in the last one there, and doesn't look too happy about it. A couple things I will mention in terms of continuity issues here with all of these characters seeming like they know each other here, but there's a couple things. This isn't like the Cloudsdale school here that Rainbow Dash was in, that we see the bullies in before. So it isn't like all these students were in school together. This is I mentioned some sort of like regional, I think they said, competition. So this is obviously ponies maybe from different parts of Cloudsdale or different parts of Equestria here in this competition, as well as Rainbow Dash mentioning that she is the youngest pony in the senior competitive circuit, where the rest of the fillies her age were competing in a different circuit. So these weren't ponies that she was necessarily hanging around, usually anyway. They were much older, not much older, but they were older than her. And that's another kind of important point, being that in terms of age differences, Rainbow Dash isn't the same age here as Spitfire or Soren or anything like that because of the scene. She's actually shown to be much younger than them, since she's competing in a senior competition that as pretty much the youngest filly in that competition.
Just it's a very minor thing compared to the other characters we've spoken about, but it seems to me that Apple Bloom seems to be beginning to get some of the practicality that her sister has, because I like how when Scootaloo's basically going to Wile E. Coyote her way up to Cloudsdale, she basically suggests like a whole list of like more sensible suggestions for getting her up there.
And of course, Sweetie Belle as well is the one to say, I don't think this is a good idea either, being the normal voice of reason for the group.
This being of course when she was a filly, having pretty much all the brilliant ideas, like trying to get Big Mac and Cheerilee hooked up.
See, I see that the thing is, I don't think that in terms of Derpy here, I don't think she had a failed. I don't think that her derpiness is caused by the failed eye operation. I think that's her going to the doctor to try and get it corrected as it progressed.
Yes.
Farther.
That was what I was mentioning.
It's kind of sad, really, that they couldn't do anything for it. It's kind of a sad backstory, actually.
But it's also really inspirational, because as she's falling through the ranks at other times, she looks really happy through it, like, just to be there. And of course we know how very happy she is in the series whenever she is around. So even though she did kind of develop this disability with her eye, she still seems to have a very positive outlook on life and herself, which is a pretty kind of tragic, sad, but also inspirational kind of message there of overcoming obstacles that you might face.
And she got to star in our very own episode, in episode 100. So
I really would like to see an official backstory on that, where like we actually get to see what caused that strabismus in her eye.
Well,
and how she manages to cope with that.
Yeah, it's probably not necessarily anything.
Mr. Ben, episode 200.
If the slow progression of it is anything, I don't think there's anything they could show in an episode that would be the cause of it. I think it's just some sort of,
that's true,
over time degenerative thing, where, because we see in the first shot she looks, something like that. Where the first shot she looks okay, but over time we see it slowly developing more and more towards the derpness. So yeah, I mean, something like that. Obviously not something from birth, because she was normal at birth, but it's something that definitely kind of developed.
It could have been from birth. She could have inherited it from birth, but it may not have necessarily manifested itself until she was older.
Yeah, because that was basically what happened to me with my eyes. I mean, I was born with 20/20 vision when I was younger.
Same here. Yeah.
But when I started getting into older age, when I became like got to what, like first grade or something, my eyes had gotten to the point where I needed glasses, and I just started wearing them ever since.
Oh, I didn't need glasses until I was 12 years old, but it's a similar sort of thing.
Anything else for characters?
I think we covered pretty much everybody.
Okay, so move on to voice acting. What did everyone think about anything with the voice? Yeah, I think we all know what first thing we're gonna say.
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm gonna say. I just have to say, you know, it was a fantastic performance from Apple Bloom's voice actress, Michelle Graylor. Yeah.
I have to say, I really think it was a bold decision to bring in an actual real life chicken onto the soundstage to record. It was a pretty bold decision for the show.
Dun 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 dun.
You see, now you know why I'm so terrible. Me and Rain Shadow basically set ourselves up for this.
Yeah.
We try to out chicken each
but in all seriousness, I gotta give Melanie Peters major props for that scream and the length of it as well.
I wonder how much recording equipment she destroyed doing that.
Well, of course, she did throw out her voice as well when she was singing the Kmart Crusaders song, so she has experience with doing insane voice work on the show. Yeah, she did a great job, and a great job, you know, especially with the emotional parts later in the episode, as well, and sort of portraying how Scootaloo felt during those parts. And yeah, we have a couple new voice actors for this series as well. For Rainbow Dash's parents here with Sarah Edmondson and Jason DeLine for Wendy and Bo. And they did a great job. I love Sarah's voice as Wendy. It's just so. It's kind of. I really thought it was the voice actor that did what's her name from Camp Everfree. Gloriosa Daisy, because it sounded very similar to Gloriosa Daisy's voice there. Surprisingly, it wasn't, but I really liked the voice and the flavor that she gave Rainbow's mom.
Like I said, Rainbow's mom was good at going on. But yeah, honestly, you know, don't get me wrong. You know that the new VAs for obviously Wendy and Bo did a fantastic job, and obviously Ashley was fantastic as Rainbow's. But yeah, it's all overshadowed by basically Maddie Peters and the squeeing. I mean, it's amazing, but it's also kind of ear-raping.
Yeah, I really have to give Ashley Ball a lot of props too for Rainbow and her reactions here. All of her very vocal, embarrassed reactions throughout are really well done and very funny in a lot of ways as well. And then of course the big emotional yelling outburst really kind of cranking Rainbow's voice up a notch for that as well was really cool. Of course, we get a lot of other small parts here. That it's funny seeing, you know, a lot of smaller parts in the episode where someone might just get one line. I mean, we have lines. We have a line from both, you know, Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle here. A couple of those for it. Nicole Oliver gets a few lines as Cheerily at the end. Andrea Liebman as Fleetfoot.
Yeah, this is probably one of those rare episodes where Andrea Liebman's in an episode where she's not voicing either Pinkie Pie or Fluttershy.
Yeah. Just Fleetfoot. Still like Fleetfoot and Spitfire's voices as well. Of course, Kelly Metzger reprises Spitfire's voice here.
Also, Jason DeLine did the voice of the announcer in the episode as well.
Yep.
And Ashley Ball had the best pony in the episode, participant pony.
What character was that even? I'm trying to think of another character that talked. Participant pony. Was it?
It's a credit. So.
What was it? Was it the bully? Because the bully talked, didn't he? I know, maybe not. I can't remember. I don't know. It had to be. It had to be. It had to be in the flashback with one of those other ponies that got a participation award. Yeah, it had to be. It had to be one of those.
This is possibly the first episode when Maddie has actually had top billing as well. It's amazing.
That's true.
How many different things have now had top billing in the show now.
I guess it's one way. You kind of think it's surprising that maybe she gets it over Rainbow Dash, where Rainbow Dash was much more the focus of the episode in a lot of ways. But the whole first half of the episode focused on Scootaloo meeting Rainbow Dash's parents before we even get to see Rainbow Dash, so it makes sense. And that would be the first time that she's ever really gotten top billing since they've started ordering that based on actual lines in the episode. Wait, what about it being no? But it was Ash. I don't get what you're mentioning there.
No, I'm talking about, the participant pony was Ashley Ball that was voicing it. I think DM12 was making the point that you thought it might have been a male pony. Then again, nothing stopping the female voice actor.
I knew it was Ashley. I knew it was Ashley Ball. I was trying to think of which participant pony it was. I couldn't remember if the bully spoke, whatever. But female voicing male roles is really nothing new, especially when they're, small, young ponies.
Bart Simpson. That's all I'll say about females voicing males.
So I'm not sure what the point there was, but yeah, I mean, I knew Ashley Ball was there. Yeah, I really loved their performances. They brought a lot of energy. Of course, that was required for those roles. To those performances.
If you were their parents, would you be saying how great, awesome they were, and awesome,
and awesome,
and Knuckles?
Gosh. Moving on to the humor. So what did everyone think about this episode's humor?
I know this is based loosely on the animation as well, though, but just Scootaloo's eyes when she sees Rainbow Dash, that room in Rainbow Dash.
How about the fucking choir door?
Angelic choir, yeah.
I love musical fourth wall breaks like that when you think it's just part of the episode's score and music, but it's like, no, it was actually in real not in real life, but actually really happening in the episode.
They say that Celestia and Luna are goddesses. Rainbow Dash can actually legitimately claim that whenever she comes out of her room, that she literally does actually have an angelic choir that carries her along in life.
Wasn't that only for the trophy room and not actually into her bedroom proper though?
It was the door between her bedroom and the trophy room, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the callback with Scootaloo using the door again when she reveals that Rainbow's a Wonderbolt. It was
even Bo was like, "Hey, nice touch."
It was a stupid but really well executed joke.
Let's see, yeah. I loved how the fact that, right at the very beginning of the episode, Scootaloo's like electing to get the cloud stealth via industrial sized slingshot.
It's the most logical choice.
And they say they were like Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle, like, you do know that there are better, easier ways to get to Cloudsdale. Like what? I'm like, well, by hot air balloon, by this way, by that way,
chariots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
oh
by the time
yeah.
by the time that Scootaloo decides, that's actually a good idea. Maybe we should go ahead and then the whole thing misfires and launches her into the air anyway. And then her falling nailed it when she pokes up through the clouds.
Of course, we mentioned all the screams, but I like how when we actually get to seeing Rainbow's room, Dash's parents are actually prepared for it and plug their ears with their wings. We actually see a lot of that in this episode. We see a lot of use of wings, like as more hands, including Rainbow Dash counting with them as well. We see them plugging their ears. We also see them covering their eyes with them.
I really love how they did that with the feather finger, basically there. But anyway, I love how the fact that Bo and Wendy are just so enthusiastic that at their one point they're cheering for their daughter in front of the Wonderbolts is so loud. Okay, so this is kind of a double thing here. So Scootaloo's screaming, or squealing, I should say, is so powerful that it's enough to almost shatter Wendy's collection of Celestia plates. But then later on, Rainbow Dash's parents are so loud that they actually cause active turbulence and disrupt the Wonderbolt flying.
They must get their megaphones at the same places where Pinky gets hers.
I now have a new backstory for Derpy. Notice that Rainbow Dash only just started when Derpy was winning. I'm beginning to think that as her parents were cheering Rainbow on, the turbulence actually caused Derpy to actually crash and have problems with her eyes.
Here's the thing: are we so sure that maybe Pinky isn't secretly the child of Bo and Wendy as well? Food for thought.
Nah. I could totally see Fluttershy being like, perhaps, actually a sister, maybe, but obviously that's not going to be the case considering Fluttershy's got her own family with everyone's favourite stallion stud in Zephyr Breeze. He's my favourite stud. What a beefcake. Whoa.
I really liked Bo Hot Hoof's line. When the CMC show up at the thing, greetings, small ponies. Such an odd way of saying that.
Just so very casual too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like saying greetings, small fry.
Oh God, Klaatu. Mom, no one wants to hear about your bath time. Maybe Spitfire did.
To say just that sort of I do kind of understand where you're coming from with Pinkie Pie being like a distant relative of that, because Wendy did remind me a lot of Pinkie, just in general chatterboxness.
Mm-hmm.
and just tendency to ramble off on stuff that wasn't even really.
I love the ramblings, especially with the Wonderbolts when she first is introduced to them there.
There's one of the items that Rainbow Dash's parents keep to honor their daughter. It just they go into just a bunch of weird stuff. They had the diaper, they had the bronzed apple that she bit into.
Diaper, and then Rainbow. Forget the moldy sandwich. How about Shirley finding the diaper in there? Hopefully it isn't used.
I would hope not.
Well, she didn't mark it down for it, so I'm assuming it must have been clean.
Shirley actually died reading that book because of the diaper, and all of the rest of the show is just a dream.
Speaking of Shirley, I kind of loved how the end where Rainbow Dash and her parents are just kind of outside, out the window, cheering them on, and Shirley is just trying to get them to keep it down, saying, "This is not a rock and roll concert."
Yeah. Not a rock and roll concert.
The funny thing is, though, as embarrassing as Rainbow Dash's parents were, I can imagine if Rainbow Dash herself was a parent, she would be just as bad, if not worse.
Oh yeah, I totally can see her being. I really can see a lot of similarities in her mom and Rainbow in terms of their personalities and how they do. And I would definitely see her being. I mean, heck, we see her doing that with Scootaloo at the end with her parents being, just as, overtly supportive of her. Although, of course, Scootaloo wasn't, embarrassed by that there.
Do you think Windy Whistles would be extremely supportive of Rainbow Dash's relationship with the kitchen sink?
No, both her and Fluttershy's parents are working in cahoots to try and get Rainbow with Fluttershy's brother.
If they make that, I'll tell you what, Rachel. If they made that an episode, I would absolutely fucking love that. Because I think the amount of humour that could be in that kind of episode would be fantastic.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was about to say, the only other option I could think of in terms of humor is this is kind of like a blink and you'll miss it thing, but when the Wonderbolts are in the process of doing stuff, one of the scenes that you see is them kind of cutting the ribbon, kind of like to open up a grand opening for a building. And in the process of cutting the ribbon, Rainbow Dash accidentally snips off part of Spitfire's tail.
Yeah.
And Spitfire looks really, really irritated at first. And what happens is that later on, it's kind of a blink and you'll miss it. It's kind of hard to spot. But when the Wonderbolts are doing that makeup show for Rainbow Dash's parents, Spitfire's tail is still cut shorter.
I didn't even think to look at it. That's a pretty good thing of continuity there. Then.
Yeah.
I didn't even think to look.
Good attention to detail.
Another kind of funny thing, which kind of plays into like a fourth wall break thing, is how the hell did Scootaloo get all of those photos in her recap book? all these shots taking screen cap directly from episodes, including the ending of Top Bolt with like the very artistic Rainbow Dash over stuff. It's like, how did you get those, Scootaloo?
Scootaloo is actually like a Japanese tourist.
I think the word you're looking for is creepy stalker of Rainbow Dash.
She went to Derby Bureau and ripped all the pictures from there.
Yeah, move over, Featherweight. You've got competition here, or maybe she got them from Featherweight. They never told Featherweight to stop photographing everything, did they? So maybe he's just for the past 4 or 5 seasons here, he's just been continuously photographing everything.
Oh god, imagine his house.
Oh god, you go in there and it's just every single wall on the floor is just covered in photos of every
room is a photography. A dark room where they use for making the photos. Every room in his house is a dark room.
I just have the mental image of like one of the rooms in the house being the beard. Like how in those whatchamacallits, the closet gag where they open up and like this avalanche of just crap just falls down on you. It's kind of like the same thing, only like in a room. You just, instead of like a closet, it's like an entire bedroom just full. You open the door and this avalanche of just nothing but photographs just comes collapsing down on top of you and flooding into the hall.
And how about those freaking Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo hats? Those need to be like a real thing soon. Like I expect to see people wearing those at conventions going forward because they were so hilarious looking.
Don't chicken hats already exist?
Everyone needs to wear it and then just do a big chicken dance.
They actually have something like that. The Rainbow Dash hat already available. Give me a second. Let me see if I can get a link in on this here. I don't think it's anything like what we see in the episode, but yeah, you can do like a Google search on Rainbow Dash hat, and you can like come up with a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, oh my god, that hat is so... And it's funny because if you kind of look at the picture really close, like, or very quickly, Rainbow Dash's, when he whistles there, Rainbow's mom really looks like Rainbow there. When you kind of do a quick glance and you just see the rainbow hair on top of her, you know, their face, because she has that same coat color and eyes as Dash.
Oh my god, Rainbow Dash has got 4 eyes.
That's how she flies so well. She has like twice the depth perception.
Let's see. Yeah, here's a photo of something kind of like what Rainbow's mom is wearing.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've seen those before in store for kids. Not quite as hilarious looking though, because they're just so obnoxiously big. It's like oh my god.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in regards to like a real life sun visor or anything. Because that's what's more like what Bo's wearing is what's called a sun visor instead of a hat.
Give it time.
I also like the when they try to make the pyramid and they get Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god. And of course the title of Rainbow Dash's air show, she must have asked Trixie for some help on that one. I was half expecting her to shout, "It's a working title!"
Just the fact that Rainbow Dash of all ponies gets called modest.
And awesome.
And also modest. And Knuckles.
Let's see. Moving on to animation. I actually have a lot written. This is the most I probably ever had written down in animation. When I'm taking my notes, because there's quite a bit of stuff to point out in terms of it. I guess first off, I really like the design of Rainbow's parents. Like I mentioned before, with you can kind of see parts of Rainbow on both of them, like the rainbow hair on Bo, for example, and the eyes and coat color from her mother as well. I think they both look different enough. Like Wendy didn't look exactly like Rainbow Dash. She had a completely different hairstyle, and of course she didn't have rainbow hair. But you can see those similarities in between them. So I really like those designs.
Well, if you put one part Windy and one part Bo into a blender, you get awesome. And awesome.
And yeah, the house design too. All of the interior designs of Bo and Wendy's house, the cloud ceilings of it were really cool looking. And especially Dash's rooms. That's where most of the detail in those new locations went into, was Rainbow Dash's rooms, both her normal room and the trophy room.
I have to say that Rainbow's family must be comfortably well off.
I guess. I mean, I don't really know what house prices are like in Cloudsdale, so. But you see a lot of things on the wall. Like you see the tortoise poster, motivational poster, which is kind of funny in retrospect, knowing Rainbow eventually getting a tank as a pet. I also really like the photo with a Rainbow Dash in a I believe it's like a sweater, having braces on, which is pretty funny.
I just love the animation on the reactions from Scootaloo. Just all of them. Just fantastic. Especially when they open the trophy room. Yeah,
when they open the Dash Minto room, there is that's another thing. The fucking word Dash Mintos that Wendy uses. That carpet,
Yes.
the freaking carpet in the trophy room. It's so great.
It is not so
And she's sticking her tongue out
Yeah.
as well.
It's pretty much like a direct reference to that one scene in season 1 where Rainbow Dash is like almost licking the screen. Oh my gosh. Dash Mentos or Skittles. Yeah, there we go. That's a good one.
Dash Mentos, the French maker.
There's another part at the when I believe it's when the parents and the CMC are there at that first air show and they're in the stands. There's one point where Rainbow Dash's mom actually makes the "so awesome" face. The Rainbow Dash "so awesome" face.
Jay, you don't mean the fresh maker, don't you mean the dash maker?
Oh, yes.
We actually see I spent a while last night pausing in the stands at the Wonderworld show, and we actually see a lot of ponies there at the show that we've seen before. You see Dr. Hooves and Rose Luck are up in the stands watching the show. We see the Goth.
Is he still two-timing on Derpy, bastard?
We see the Goth and the Super Happy Pony from Canterlot Boutique are in the stands. Of course, Lyra and Bonba there, Berry Punch, Lotus Blossom from the spa is there. You can see Octavia up there with Lyra and Bonpun doing, while everyone else is like has their hooves up and raving around. Octavia and the Goth Pony are just kind of doing this very almost like golf clap, like a golf clop kind of thing, very politely on the ground. Shirley, Minute, Limit Hearts, Twinkle Shine, and Amethyst Star are in there. You see I don't think we've seen this pony since then, but we've seen the receptionist pony from Canterlot in the episode Rarity Takes Manhattan. The one with the glasses was in there. Derpy is in the stands as well. Poor Mare seeing what could have been, looking very, very happy watching it though. And you know, a lot of other ponies, I'm sure I'm missing a lot that we've seen before, but a lot of other ones. There's only one clone that I could see there. Lemon Hearts was duplicated in the stands once, but everyone else was a completely different, good, you know, really cool kind of design, original designed pony, which is, you know, if you look back in episodes like in season 1 when we went to a Wonderworld's Air show, and you'd see a lot more clones in the crowd than now. Which I thought was something just kind of cool to kind of take a look and see all the characters that were there and animate it in the stands at the show. Oh my gosh, the design of, I just love the 80s designs of Rainbow Dash's parents in the flashback and the pictures there. With the 80s hair.
I think that's kind of a ref on Cheerilee when she showed off when she was a younger filly. Although that was kind of slightly more 70s than necessarily 80s, so that was 80s. That was definitely 80s.
It seems like she was in school, like high school or something, in quote unquote 80s, whatever that means in this universe. Where Rainbow Dash's mom definitely seems, you know, still has the 80s style, you know, thing, but she's obviously older.
Definitely better than the Cheerilee in G3.
I can say that about most of G3.
Apart from Scootaloo. Scootaloo's definitely better in G3, especially in newborn cuties.
She doesn't even have to speak. She says everything and shows all of her emotion through her eyes in G3.
Yeah, like kill me, kill me, kill me.
No, like I'm going to kill you. There's let's see, what else was there? Oh yeah, there's a couple other nice little things like pause moments where you can see other characters, like there's a shot with Cloud Chaser and Sunshower Raindrops flying through the air when we're at the academy. They were both also cadets in Wonderbolt's academy, so they're still there. And we also, in that same shot, we see Sky Stinger and Vapor Trail, those new characters from Top Bolt last season, walking together in the academy as well. So a nice little bit of visual continuity with the characters there. Speaking of faces, like we mentioned, we see Fleetfoot make the dash face from Daring Don't, which I never thought we'd see in the series again. That was funny. We also Rainbow Dash's embarrassed face at the photo signing when I forget what they throw. They throw a shirt, yeah, where they throw a shirt on the filly as she's trying to sign something for them. Dash makes this really like big kind of awkward grin, which was really funny. And also the air in general, the multiple air show flying sequences, especially that final one, I thought were really cool. They looked really cool visually and had a lot of good choreography, with them flying together and making different designs. I thought it was, very visually appealing, much more than some of the past ones that we've seen.
It's just amazing just how much the show is still kicked on, even even though it still pretty much uses Flash predominantly. It's still a damn fine, good-looking show. I mean, it just makes me wonder just how amazing it's going to look when we actually, when they obviously show off what they've been doing using Toon Boom for the actual film.
Yeah, them flying through the colors there was really cool. So anything else for the humor?
I wonder if they leave their mouth open, they'll end up tasting the rainbow.
I think we've learned from Pinky that you don't want to do that.
It burns.
It might do for Earth ponies. It might be completely fine for Pegasi. We don't know.
I'm pretty sure Dash told her not to do that though in that episode. So. Anything else for humor or animation that anyone wants to point out?
I don't know if you've got it somewhere on Slack, but I loved that little animation of Scootaloo acting like a dog.
Oh gosh. Well, just like the previous episode where she returned the chew toy and had Apple Bloom pat her on the head. Good dog. Good chicken.
So she say, you're not a dog, Scootaloo, you're a chicken.
Okay.
Every season she starts acting like a different animal. She's just basically she's just animal confused.
She's not sure what she is. Well, she certainly can't fly. Okay. Well, let's move on. We'll move on to the getting no song this week, so we'll move on to the score from the episode here. So let me just get that
I believe the score is that Rainbow is awesome out of 10. Oh, not that score. Sorry.
We just I should just play the awesome song from Rainbow Rocks. That pretty much sums up the episode right there.
Yep, there you go. She's awesome as she wants to be, although she
wants to be very awesome.
I wonder what her parents would be like in Equestria Girls now. Very supportive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would actually make a lot of sense there, with soccer moms, so and whatnot. So going to we'll start when we're introduced in the episode with that Bo Hothoof and Windy Whistles. They get their own little leitmotif here that kind of is reprised a couple times throughout the episode for them. It's this kind of groovy, mainly bass with a little bit of piano in it as well. So we'll hear this one throughout the episodes for them. This particular track is from the beginning of the episode. So yeah, very bass heavy, kind of a jazzy number there.
Can I ask a very quick question, Rain Shadow?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you rip these episodes. How difficult was it to actually take out Maddie's squealing out of the episode?
Well, you can't do it completely because there's a lot of vocal reverb and echo into the channels. I mean, a lot of times removing vocals isn't terribly hard to do because the episodes are mixed in 5.1 surround sound, which is something that a lot of TV shows aren't. A lot of especially animated shows either aren't mixed in 5.1 surround sound, or they're just stereo, or they're broadcast. Even if they are, they're broadcast and uploaded in 2.0. Like if you get anything from like Cartoon Network or something, it's almost always just stereo. So thankfully, Pony has always been mixed in 5.1 surround sound. So usually for most vocals, you just have to mute the center channel because that's where all the vocals are. Almost all of the vocals and sound effects are in the center channel. So and none of the music. So you just mute that.
Isn't it sad that it's the show that's for little girls is the one that actually is the most technically advanced then in terms of like, sound design?
I think that's one of the things I've really come to appreciate about doing this in the show is how good and how much effort is put into the sound design and sound effects and whatnot in the show. Like I said, most of the time you can just mute the center channel, but it's not that easy. I can't just go and mute the center channel and call it a day. There's a lot of other things you have to work around. Like for example, if someone moves to the left side or the right side of the screen, whether it be a person talking or a pony talking or a sound effect, that sound effect will be panned into the stereo channels, which means you then have to start getting audio more from the rear channels. And you don't want to get audio from the rear channels all the time because it's a lot more reverb back there usually. It's a lot softer, so you have to bump the audio up a lot, which can degrade the audio quality. And a lot of time it's not quite as clear as the front channels, so you don't want to use those all the time. So you only want to go back there if there's sound effects in the left and right. And then sometimes there's things that you just can't remove. So most of the screaming I can remove, but if you go back and listen to the first track, which I'm not playing here because there's not a lot of note there, but you can still hear her screaming in the background because they do more than just putting that vocals in the middle. There's a lot of echo or reverb involved. That's why if you have scenes that are taking place in rooms like the one we just listened to here, they don't just put the vocals in, they add a fake reverb effect, so it actually sounds like they're in a room. So their vocals won't just be in the center, you'll hear very soft reverberations of their vocals in all of the channels. So if you're watching it in stereo surround sound, and if you can, I definitely recommend watching the show and all the movies in surround sound because it's awesome. It makes it seem a little more realistic, like they're in a actual small room for it.
And also awesome.
Yes.
I was just going to say, it would be more funnier just to say the reason why it was difficult to get rid of that is because Scootaloo's squealing transcends time and space.
See, so moving on, we'll go into going into Rainbow Dash's room here, and this is the one that ends with that hilarious choir here. So this is a kind of excited sort of sounding motif that we've heard before in the series. And you can hear what I'm talking about in terms of the reverberation, because you can still hear some of her vocals here just because of the reverberation in the small room.
Installed the sound effects myself.
Fucking joke. From there we go into Rainbow Dash's mom and Scootaloo kind of trading their Dash Mentos here. During this we hear this waltz that we've heard in the series a few times before. We heard it previously this season in All Bottled Up in the track of the same name from that episode. From there, we get to our first Wonderbolts scene. So, as with most Wonderbolts episodes, they have quite a few different themes and leitmotifs that are just for the Wonderbolts, and we'll hear these reprised in all their episodes. Almost all of these leitmotifs come from the Season 3 episodes Wonderbolts Academy. That was the first episode that really focused on the Wonderbolts, and most of their themes were introduced in that episode and have been reprised through other episodes there. The only other theme that came later was the air show theme, which is going to be featured here. It's been featured a couple episodes. Very prominently, it was featured in this form in last season's Newbie Dash when we saw them perform the air show in that episode. So this is when Rainbow's parents and the CMC are first kind of viewing her air show. Let me see. Is this one? Yeah, this is when they first kind of sneak up on her, and when she's practicing with the Wonderbolts here. And that little motif part of that, the dun 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 dun, is the Wonderbolts fanfare. So that's kind of a separate leitmotif that's worked into the air show theme, and that's the Wonderbolts fanfare. That's like one of their main, like, very heroic motifs that they have for their group. Next, we get the scene with Spitfire meeting Windy Whistles, and we get a little march. Obviously, Wonderbolts episode, there's going to be a lot of marching tracks involving in scenes involving them. This is another very small motif that has been used for the Wonderbolts a lot. Okay, so from there we go to the actual first air show when they're in the stands. And the score here is going to be for Scootaloo's recap of what Rainbow Dash has been going through over the past 7 seasons to catch her parents up to date here. So we begin with this kind of fast-flying score we've heard in the series numerous times for different things. It's used a lot for when ponies are flying fast. Scootaloo's recap then is actually backed by the boot camp march. So this is called the Wonderbolts March. This track first appeared in Wonderbolts Academy. It has a very kind of Academy Top Gun kind of sound to it, very boot camp sounding march. See, I was actually incorrect there. It's the next track that has the Wonderbolts March. That march there was also from Wonderbolts Academy. That was backed, the scenes near the beginning of that episode where Spitfire is kind of pacing back and forth going over with the recruits sort of what's going to happen and whatnot. That's used for that. This next track here is for the actual air show performance there. This again works in the Wonderbolts air show score, which in turn also works in the Wonderbolts fanfare. As the scene shifts over to Rainbow's parents, then yelling and going crazy for Rainbow in the stands, that's when the score shifts over to the classic Wonderbolts march also from Wonderbolts Academy. This march you'll recognize the first scene where we're at the Academy and we're kind of panning through to get the shot of the Academy. That's where this track was first used. But first we get to the air show. And here's that march. Back to the air show theme. Okay, next we get to the montage track of where we get to that short montage of Rainbow Dash's parents embarrassing her in weird circumstances, ending with the one in the showers with the towels. This one has this very bouncy, kind of slightly crazy cue. It's in a lot of ways it's similar to Flurry Heart's motif from Flurry Heart's episode, but it has a different melody to it. That fucking towel line. That was another hilarious line. Towel. So now we get to the track Support and Confidence, which starts off with the really emotional scene between Rainbow and Scootaloo, where Scootaloo tells her parents her lack of support from her parents as when she was growing up. So we get this really nice, very emotional string and oboe cue that backs her here. From there, we get to the end of the episode where Rainbow Dash puts on the special I'm Sorry performance for her parents. This brings us to the third appearance in the episode of the Wonderbolts Air Show theme. This time has a slightly longer version. It's followed by a short flute and glockenspiel lesson motif that we've heard in the series before, as Rainbow Dash sort of tells her parents that that they are her hero. We then conclude with one more use of the Wonderbolt's March from earlier, as Rainbow Dash and her parents congratulate the happy and emotional Scootaloo for the good job done on her project. And then that big horn outro there, as the camera or the frame irises in. So that's it for the score for the episode. As always, a lot of Wonderbolt stuff here. We get to hear most of their cues from their past episodes in this episode, as well as some more emotional stuff as we get to the end there, and some new stuff during the episode, and also for Bo and Wendy and their leitmotifs as well. So starting to wrap up here for today. What was everyone think about it? We talked about this sort of already, but what was everyone think about the episode's theme and moral?
Basically, long story short, we all, like you said, we covered it. Don't take your parents' love for granted. They may not be the most, how can I say this?
Subtle?
Yes, subtle, possibly. But they mean well. Also, don't be a dick.
To your parents.
Exactly.
I liked both lessons. I like how it kind of has a lesson both for kids and for parents as well in it. Both sides had some issues with what they were doing, and I think it's something the whole overzealous parents is sort of something you see a lot of in real life, especially if you've been to any sporting games. So, and of course, I think a lot of people would say that they've been embarrassed by their parents on more than one occasion in public. So, favorite parts and any final concerns for the episode?
Not really a whole lot to really cover that we haven't already done with.
I'm concerned about hearing loss.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I really think my favorite thing was just the writing overall. I think Josh Hamilton did a fantastic job. I just loved how they tackled Rainbow Dash's parents 7 seasons in. I loved how they used all of this stuff not only to tell a story here, but to explain why we haven't seen her parents, to explain why Rainbow's the way she is, and then to also contrast that with Scootaloo and kind of give her some backstory about, and kind of make it official that, yes, she hasn't had a lot of involvement for whatever reason from her parents, and then to kind of take that and give Rainbow Dash and Rainbow Dash's parents give her encouragement at the very end. I really loved that ending. That overall, while I loved all that, my favorite part would probably be that emotional ending with all of them cheering Scootaloo after her presentation, because that was really kind of a heart-filled moment there. Overall feelings, final conclusions, any concluding statements?
Nice just to finally see, parents of the main cast. All we need now is
5
just
down,
to see
1 to go.
Applejack. Yep.
Yeah, they've really been making it a point the past couple seasons to show the families. I mean, we got In season 4, we got to see Pinkie Pie's family. Season 5, last season, we got to see Fluttershy's family. And now this season here, we see finally Rainbow Dash's family. So they definitely been making it a point to kind of close some of those loose ends that kind of just were never covered in the series because it never really was required and never kind of came up with where the series was in the past. Yep, overall, I really like this episode. I'm really hoping that Josh Hamilton writes some more episodes this season because I think he did a fantastic job here, and I've always loved his, what his writing for the Avatar and Korra series as well as in Voltron. So, be interesting to see him come back and do more stuff. So, really great first episode, great emotional episode. It was awesome, just like Rainbow. So, yep. So with that, that's about it all for it all. I'm hungry. I need to go get some food real quick. That's it for today here on Triple E. Things coming up here as we get through the week. This weekend we will be having a new CQ Riffs that I'm sure you're all going to be so excited to come and attend because we will be riffing Three Ninjas. Was it the High Noon at Mega Mountain? That's so you recall that we were originally going to do this. I originally wanted to do this, and then we wound up watching the first Three Ninjas and this one, which was pretty funny. So we're gonna see how this one compares now, and this is the one with Hulk Hogan in it. So yeah, we'll be watching that this weekend at 1 p.m. on CQ Riffs. Of course, we'll also be live chatting during the new Discovery Family release of the new episode, episode 8, Hard to Say Anything. So we'll be watching that at 11:30. And of course, we'll be back next week here on Triple E, next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on CinemaQuestria.com to chat about that episode, Hard to Say Anything. So make sure to join us then, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us today for all that. And have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Later, folks.
See ya.